Welcome to the Healing Power of Plant Foods cooking class. My name's April Ashcroft, and I am super excited to have you guys with me tonight. I'm excited to start the fall semester with ICL, and I'll be doing a class in October and November both, so I hope to see you all again after this class. Who's here for the first time? Sweet. I like having new faces. I like having old faces, or previous faces. I don't want to say old faces. Yes. The food that we eat is so important, and I am so excited to share with you some nutrition information as well as show you how to incorporate all these plant foods into your diet. Whether you are just wanting to get more fruits and vegetables into your diet, more plant foods into your diet, or if you're a long-time, full-fledged, whole food, plant-based person, there's something to be learned. And I hope you go away tonight feeling a little more motivated to just do a little better, to eat more plant foods, because plant foods are the best foods for your body. You really are what you eat, and what you eat has a big part of how your brain is and how you can think, and whether it's you're thinking clearly and remembering things, and it totally affects so many aspects of our lives. And food affects so many aspects of our lives, as far as, you know, it's so social. We eat all the time in so many situations, and it's tough to eat healthy in our society, but we can do this, and we can be an example to others. And it doesn't have to be horrible and miserable. It can taste great, and that's my job, is to show you guys how to incorporate these foods into your diet so that they taste wonderful and that you're excited to eat. I love to eat. My whole family are eaters, and my whole family has experienced horrible health because they are that way. But I am one as well, but I choose different foods, and so I'm not having the issues that the rest of my family members are having. You know, they talk about, oh, it's genetics, it's in my genetics, and I'm like, well, am I adopted or what? Because I'm not having these issues. I'm 57 and not on any pills or anything, and I'm super happy about that. And I've done this. I've been teaching since 2005, and been eating and preparing whole food plant-based diet since 1991, and over those years I've come in contact with a lot of people that have made major changes and to more whole food plant-based eating and have had great results. And I know there's people in here tonight that could share their experience with that. So if so inclined, if there's time and you want to share a quick little experience from yourselves, that would be greatly welcome. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I've got a pretty good menu tonight. Well, a really great menu tonight, I think. I love Mexican food. So we're doing cauliflower tacos and Texas caviar and an apple crumble, whichever you want to call it. So we'll just go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with the apple crisp first, because we are going to put that in the oven. I want it to cook and be cooled by the time we're going to eat it. So I'm going to start off with some apples, of course. I've already got some chopped. I started chopping, so I wasn't chopping for so long. But these are Honeycrisp apples. I bought them at the farmer's market, so they should be really good. You can use any kind of apple you want. As you can see, I'm using the peel. The peel is very, very high in antioxidants, and we need to get more antioxidants into our diet. And most of the antioxidants are in the peel. And so we want to eat the peel. And so I recommend getting organic if you can, or some locally grown that don't have the wax on them, and that you can maybe ask the person you're buying for, ask them if there's how they take care of their produce, and whether they're spraying a lot and stuff. Usually local stuff is relatively good. So we want 8 cups of apples, and I'm using my Vidalia Chop Wizard. Some of you have seen this before. This is a 4-cup capacity, and so I am going to fill that. I need 8 cups. I've already got a couple in there. That might do me. I'm going to go ahead and finish these though. So an apple a day really keeps the doctor away. Studies have shown that people who eat the most apples have the least types of oral, breast, colon, kidney, and ovarian cancers. Decreases risk of that. There was one study that showed 24% lower risk of breast cancer for women who ate an apple a day. So, and again, the potent antioxidants are in the skin. Okay. So let's see. I want 2 cups for the crust, and I want 6 cups. I gotta get this straight in my head so I don't mess up. So we want 2 cups for the crust and 6 cups for the center part of the pie. Okay. So we're gonna move over here to our food processor, and put that over there. Let's see. Okay, we want a cup. So we're going to blend. We want to make kind of a sauce. You know, like in an apple pie, you've got kind of a sauce that's in there. So we want to make that with, and we're going to do that with some of our apples. And so I'm going to put 2 cups of apples in my food processor here. And I want to add a little extra sweet to this. I'm just going to kind of estimate how many apples. I wasn't going to, here, I'm going to grab another bowl real quick. I want to make sure we've got just about a right amount here. So we want 2 cups in the sauce, and we want 4 cups in the pie itself, right? Yes, the filling, we got 6 cups, so. Okay, there's 4 cups right there. So we're good. Put a few extra. Okay. We're going to need that back. Okay, so we want to sweeten this up just a little bit more. These apples are pretty sweet, but we want to just add a little extra sweet to them. And you can add as much or as little extra sweet as you want. And I'm using this, not dates. I often use dates to sweeten up, but I'm going to use figs this time. Figs are kind of a new addition to my sweetening, and it doesn't work with everything. I make a cashew-based ice cream, and I've done some cookies and other types of pies, and figs don't often work because they have a flavor. They have a little bit different flavor than dates. Dates are just sweet. There's really not a strong flavor with them, but figs are a little bit different, and these are dried figs. I get them at Costco. If you want to use dates, dates work just great. I'm just doing it just to have something a little bit different. I actually got a little bit of a sensitivity to dates, and so I started trying something else, and the figs work really nicely. They have a nice flavor that goes with that really well. So I'm going to go ahead and just going to grind all this up. Let's see, I need a spatula that I did not bring. Or a spoon. And we just want to grind this up to make kind of an applesauce, like I said, kind of a sauce to pour over. There we go. And I'm going to put in, for my filling, a teaspoon of cardamom, quarter teaspoon of or a teaspoon of cinnamon, quarter teaspoon of cardamom, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of ginger. Or not ginger, sorry, nutmeg. There we go. And just kind of scrape down the sides. And you can, of course, do this in a blender. It'll grind it down just a little bit creamier, but the food processor works great. All right. Now figs apples and figs are high in fiber, and we need to eat more fiber. Instead of asking, where am I getting my protein, let's ask, where am I getting my fiber, because that is way more important than where am I getting our protein. Protein is in everything. I'm going to dump this back in this big bowl so I can stir it around. When we eat a lot of fiber, and when we eat fiber, we're feeding our microbiome. Our microbiome is the gut bacteria in our body that plays an important role in all aspects of our health. And there's about 10,000 bacteria in the skin and core of an apple. That's where the majority of your good bugs are at. Your bacteria, that's good bacteria that feed your gut. So again, we want to get organic and eat the skin. And if you are so inclined to eat the core and peel as well, or the core and seeds, that's a good thing. Don't worry about the arsenic in the seeds. There's not enough to hurt you at all, unless you're eating pounds and pounds of apples every day. All right. And we'll just stir that around. And I do this, I make different pies with different types of fruit. And I do the same type of a thing. I've done a berry pie with the berries, triple berry combination that you get at Costco. I just blend a couple of cups of the berries and add some dates. I use dates in those just to sweeten it up, and pour that sauce over your fruit, and there's the base of your pie. In fact, that pie is raw. And I've done a raw apple pie too in a similar way. But I wanted to do a kind of a cobbler, a cooked cobbler, and this is really nice. I loved it. So, okay. You know what we did not put any vanilla in there, so I'm just going to put that in there right now. I can smell the cinnamon. It smells so good. And you don't need to, add any other sugar to this at all. Apples are naturally sweet. Usually desserts are oversweet. And we need to base our desserts on fruits and natural sweeteners. Okay, and it says an 8x8 cake pan, and I'm doing this one in just a little bit bigger, just so it's a little bit easier, and it's usually pretty deep. In an 8x8 cake pan, it's pretty deep. This one's going to make it not quite as deep, but it'll be a little bit easier for serving. All right, just spread that around evenly. All right, now we're going to go back over here and we're going to do our crust. So we've got 2 cups, 2 cups of apples. We're going to go ahead and put that in our food processor. I haven't made this recipe since last fall, so I'm like, let's see. And then we're going to add some more sweetener. We're going to add our figs. Using figs again. And again, you can use dates. Dates work really well. And I'm using 4 figs instead of the 3 that we used in that part. Just because with grain it needs to have just a little bit more. Then we're going to add our vanilla. And we're going to do some cinnamon. And grind it all up. So this we're just going to add to our oats. Okay, so if this crust is a little bit too, like if you don't care for the whole grain part of it, so I'm not using totally whole grain because it is a rolled oat, so it's not completely whole. But I like to use my grains as whole as possible. And I found that for the crust, I like chewy, grainy breads. So, but I found that I really like the crust made with the rolled oats rather than grinding them down to a flour. If you think you would prefer to grind them down or even just part of them, you could do that. But we're going to do it with all whole rolled oats.
Is that regular or instant?
They're regular, and again, if you wanted a kind of a, not quite as hearty of a crust, you could go with the instant. They would soften up a little bit better. I mean, I think this is great. I think you'll like it. It's surprising that it turns out so nice. And then we're going to add 2 cups of rolled oats. And you don't want thick oats. I did thick oats one time, and they just didn't soften up very good. And just stir that around.
What's a thick oat?
They're not as thinly rolled.
Okay.
Yeah. They're actually health-wise, they're better for you, because the more you process a grain, the more those carbohydrate calories and sugars are bioavailable. So your body absorbs, you've probably heard of the glycemic index, how it affects your blood sugar. The more that grain is processed, the more it affects your blood sugar and raises that blood sugar. So like the analogy I like to use with that is like with an apple. When you eat an apple, you're chewing it. Takes a little bit to chew it, and then you swallow it, and your body still has to process it even further, and it takes a while for your blood sugar to spike. You take applesauce or even apple juice, and your blood sugar is going to get a much greater hit because that apple is processed down. The fiber is already, blended or whatever, and your body has to do way less work than if you were to eat an apple whole. And it's the same way with nuts and seeds. When you're eating a whole nut or seed, your body, it processes that much slower, and it's less likely to store in your body as fats than if the nut was ground down and your body's absorbing it so much quicker. So, although I used to blend nuts a lot in things, and still do and would. Okay. Now, I have found that if you let this sit for a little bit, it softens the oats a little bit more, which is nice, but it's fine if you don't do that, if you don't have time and don't want to do that, because this is where we are going to cook it. Okay. So we're just going to spoon this over the top very carefully. We don't need to add any oil or butter, although butter would be very yummy. I would agree with that. I have a strong family history of heart disease, but my dad had a quadruple bypass when he was 60. All 4 of my grandparents had heart disease, and I just am so careful, diligent about anything that could raise my risk of that, because I saw what that's like for them. Don't want it. And you find, you just get used to things tasting different, and I love it. Don't miss it at all. My husband was using butter for a while on his potatoes, like a little bit. He'd buy some to put in Dutch oven when he'd make Dutch oven. So it was in there, and so he started using it. And finally, he started putting on the weight, and I'm like, I said something about it, when he was complaining about his weight, and he's like, but it's so good. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's so good. That doesn't make it healthy. There's things that are just as good. Okay. We're going to put this in the oven at 350 degrees for 23 minutes. I probably should have, well, that'll probably be okay. Timer. Set timer. 23. Whoops. Oh, shoot. What did I do? Enter, start, timer, 23. Start. Okay, perfect. Thank you to Todd and Susie for doing my dishes. Appreciate them. All right, let's get into our Texas caviar. This is another favorite of mine. They're all favorites of mine, actually. I'm going to use that food processor, so you can put that back over here when you're done. Thank you for washing it. So this can be used as a salad or a dip for chips. So, and I'm sure you've had versions of this. Harmon's sells a type of a salad that's kind of like this. It's super easy to make. So we're going to start off with some bell peppers. And we can chop the bell peppers in the Chop Wizard, and I was going to, and then I remembered that I actually prefer these. This one is a little bit big, and this other one's a little bit small. So I'm just gonna chop these by hand. So peppers, especially the red ones, I think yellow ones, or orange ones too. Yellow ones not as much, but peppers are super high in vitamin C. In fact, they're one of the food's highest in vitamin C. And again, vitamin C is an antioxidant. And antioxidants protect your cells and keep you from aging. They're anti-aging foods. And by the way, there's a craze about, bone broth and collagen, building collagen. And I was reading an article about that. Food Revolution is a really great website that's got a lot of great information. They put out a newsletter about every week, I think. But they had a newsletter about bone broth and the craze with that and why people like it. And they say it's because of it supposedly builds collagen, which is great for your skin and helps you to look younger. And there's really no studies to back any of that up. In fact, collagen doesn't come from eating collagen. Kind of like protein doesn't come from eating protein, getting protein in your body doesn't come from eating protein. It comes from eating amino acids. So collagen comes from nutrients that synthesize the production of collagen in your body. So just because bone broth has collagen doesn't mean it's going to turn into collagen in your body. It's actually going to cause some problems, not good for your gut. But one of the building blocks of collagen is vitamin C. So if we're eating lots of fruits and vegetables and getting that vitamin C from plant foods, your body automatically converts it to whatever it needs, whether it's collagen or anything else. Vitamin E is another building block of collagen. And we know we have a good example. Again, I like to use an apple as an example. When we cut open the apple and let it sit on the counter for a while, it starts to turn brown. In fact, my apples kind of started turning brown just after a few minutes of sitting here. And that's oxidation. And your body, scientists believe, get over 10,000 oxidative hits a day. So that's why it's so important that we eat lots of foods with antioxidants, because it protects your cells and keeps you from aging. And peppers are your highest in vitamin C. Green leafy vegetables are super high. I'm a big proponent of greens. Okay, so we've got our bell peppers in here. We got red and orange, and you can use yellow. You can use both red. Colored peppers are ripe peppers. Green peppers are not ripe peppers. They are picked early, and they are actually, I mean, sometimes if you get a good pepper, like organic grown green pepper, set it on your counter or in the fridge. Have you ever had them where they turn colors? That's because they're not ripe when they're green. So, and then we're going to add some jalapenos, and these jalapenos, as you can see, are red because they're ripe. And there's 3 of them. You can use 3 or 4. This shouldn't make it too hot. Sometimes jalapenos are a little bit scary because they can be really hot. In fact, one time I decided I was going to use some of the seeds, and I made my salad, and it was so hot. I doubled the recipe, and it was still too hot. So be very careful when you're using seeds. And then I'm going to use a clove of garlic. And then we're going to do some tomatoes. These are local, well, Utah-grown tomatoes, not local, but they're Utah-grown tomatoes. And your recipe calls for Romas. And because I like to do, I don't like to buy store-bought stuff. Romas are an early tomato, and so the farmer's market didn't have any Romas, and neither did Natural Grocer did, but they didn't look very good. So I'm just going for, I got these at Harmon's. They're northern Utah grown, and they've been really good. So we were going to use those, and you can use any kind of tomato. The Romas are a little bit less juicy, so they work a little bit better for the salad. And I'm going to use my chopper, and you got to be really careful because they'll splatter. So you got to do really fast. Okay. And I just used, let's see, did I use 3? I think I used 3 in there, which is equal to about, it's probably more than the Romas would be. Let's see a few things about tomatoes. Tomatoes have lycopene. And, lycopene is one of the over 600 carotenoid phytochemicals that are for anti-aging. So you've heard of beta-carotene, alpha-carotene. There's all these carotenoid antioxidants, and there's over 600 of them, and they're all in whole foods. When you take a beta-carotene or whatever carotene supplement or lycopene supplement, you're just getting that one nutrient. You're not getting the thousands, hundreds of other nutrients that are found in whole foods. And when you're taking just the one nutrient in a supplement, you're throwing your body off balance. Your body wants whole foods that have 600 or thousands or whatever of those nutrients that are combined together, that work together to create good health in your body. When you're taking an individual supplement, and I mean, you look at that thing and it's man-made in a factory, how could it possibly be really doing your body any good? So we need to get our nutrients from whole foods. Tomatoes, this lycopene concentrates in the male reproductive organs, decreasing risk of prostate cancer. Men with the highest levels of lycopene in their blood had 39% lower risk of stroke. Lower levels of lycopene increase plaque buildup in the carotid artery, which is what gives you a heart attack. Women eating the most lycopene were 50% less likely to have cardiovascular disease. So we want to get those tomatoes in, and we love tomatoes this time of year, right? I mean, who grows tomatoes around here? Can you grow tomatoes around here? You really can. we have a pretty good crop with tomatoes. Okay, so then we're going to add some corn, and this is raw corn. I just use it raw in this salad. It's delicious. You don't need to cook corn. In fact, my husband will grab an ear of corn out of the fridge and just eat it. It's just super good that way. And you want to get organic corn if you can. If you can find it, it's best because 90% of the corn grown in our country is genetically modified, which means they've added things, they've spliced genes to make it more shelf stable for like chips and things like that. And they don't know the effects it has on our bodies. And then we're going to add some onion, some red onion. Onions have potent anti-cancer compounds. By the way, September is Cancer Awareness Month, and we want to change that to Cancer Prevention Month and make people more aware about the effect that food has on the risk of cancer, and it has a huge risk. Our diet plays a big part in our risk for cancer. In fact, population study involving 10 countries, European study involving 10 countries showed that people who ate the most onions had the least cancers of all types. Onions and garlic both are very strong anti-cancer foods. They'll stop tumors from growing, detoxify your body, and there went half my onion on the floor. So we'll just use 3/4 of it. Decreases the risk of heart disease. Okay. Now, onions, of course, or red onions are higher in those antioxidants than your other onions. I like to use red onions in salads, in raw dishes, rather than cook them, just because of that high antioxidant compounds, and just use the cheaper onions for when you're cooking. Okay, then we're going to do some black beans. We got 2 cups of black beans, and I like to use home-cooked black beans, but canned beans are totally fine. If you do want to use home-cooked black beans, they're super easy. You just soak them overnight, cook them for 8 hours, or you can, cook them on a stove for a couple hours, or you can put them in your crock pot and they'll cook for 8 hours. I do canned beans when I'm doing a salad, because a lot of times when you cook your beans from scratch, it's hard to keep them well-formed for like a salad. I want them more whole in a salad. When you cook them, I know when I cook them in the microwave, or not the microwave, the crock pot, sometimes they'll break down a lot more, and they're not as nice in a salad. They kind of break down, and they just don't work quite as well in a salad. So, but canned beans are just fine. I've drained them well and rinsed them well. These are organic, the Costco black beans that you can get there. All right, then we're going to add some tomatillos. You guys familiar with tomatillos? These are, they're kind of like, they remind me of kind of a citrusy, they're kind of a tangy, twangy flavor. And I am going to chop these in my chopper just because I like small. And I'm just doing 2. Anything you can do to add more flavor, this is one thing that helps with that. Tomatillos. This is a beautiful salad at that. This is one of these salads that I can take to a family get-together, and they don't look at it and go, "Oh, April brought that. We don't want any." No, I'm just kidding. No, it's one of those dishes that most people will really like. Okay, then we're going to go with some lime. And I think we've got 3 to 4 limes juiced. Is that what it is? 2 to 3. So you can kind of just go by how it tastes. These are really nice, juicy limes. Limes, another high vitamin C food. You could add some lime zest to this as well, which I don't usually do, but I just had the thought that that would be really good. Lime juice, lemon juice, it helps to take decrease the amount of salt that you might have to use in a dish if you're used to eating a lot of salt. Although we don't need to be too afraid of salt unless we have some high blood pressure going on. But I have found that and heard that high blood pressure has a lot to do with the diet itself, not so much just salt. If you switch to a more whole food plant-based diet, that's going to level out. And then if you're still having issues, you can reduce the salt. But when you automatically go away from processed foods and animal products, you're getting away from a lot of salt anyway. And so that's going to just automatically help with that. We're going to hold off on that other lime and we'll just taste it and see how it is. Then we're going to go with the magic. Avocado is the magic. The only problem with adding avocado to this is, although there is lime juice which helps to preserve it, it doesn't keep as well. So you guys need to eat a lot, okay? So I don't take too much home. That's actually a pretty good avocado. The avocados have been a little bit scary lately. I think they're kind of out of season. And you want to get your fats. Now normally for a salad like this, and I think a lot of recipes you would find, you would have avocado, but you'd also have an oil, some type of oil that you would add to this. And I don't ever use any oils. Oils are 120 calories of pure fat. It's the highest calorie, lowest nutrient food that we consume, and it increases risk of heart disease, increases risk of cancer, increases inflammation in the body. If you've got any inflammatory issues, oil's going to increase that. I've heard oil referred as an inflammation bomb.
Even like olive oil?
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's all oil. It's all processed. It's taken out of the whole food. The fiber's missing, and so it increases the rate of absorption into your body, so it's much easier to go into your fat cells, and it it coats the inner lining of your blood vessels, and it increases risk of heart disease. I encourage you to go online and check out Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. I believe I've added him. I think I have a list. Do I have homework on there? I'm wondering if I forgot to add homework. No homework? Okay. Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, heart attack proof. Actually, I think experts. Is there a list of experts on there? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Heart attack proof, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. You go to YouTube and check him out, and there's videos. In fact, if you want a direct link to a really good video, go to my website, which is healthforlifecooking.com. That's on there as well on the front page. And if you scroll down a little bit, it says, why no oil? And there's 3 doctors that'll talk about that. And he talks about how it coats the inner lining of your blood vessels, which shuts down the production of nitric oxide that comes from your endothelial cells. So just a real quick little science thing here. The inside of your blood vessels are lined with endothelial cells, and they produce a gas called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the most powerful blood vessel dilator, meaning it causes your blood vessels to expand for more blood flow when you're going up a flight of stairs or going out for a run. It keeps your blood vessels running smoothly like Teflon. We want to keep that. But when we eat olive oil, any kind of oil, that oil goes into our blood vessels because that's where things from food go eventually, and it coats that inner lining and blocks that nitric oxide production, increasing plaque buildup, increasing the stiffening of your arteries. Be very, very careful. If you're doing everything right, everything that your doctor is telling you, but you're eating heart-healthy oils, take them out and just see. My husband and I did that. I was using olive oil and grapeseed oil and things in our early years. And we went and saw Dr. Esselstyn speak at a conference, and my husband's cholesterol was up to 270, I think is what it was. And he said, let's try it. So we did. And in 6 weeks, I think it was, his cholesterol dropped 50 points when I got rid of just the oils. We didn't go out to eat during that time, and we had been going out to eat, on the weekends, pretty much is all. But yeah, he was convinced, and he's hard to convince. So,
What's his last name again?
Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, is he not listed on the back?
No.
Okay. Caldwell Esselstyn. E-S-S-Y-S, let's see. E-S-S-Y-L-S-T-Y-N-E, I believe. If you put heart attack proof, I don't know if that needs more, maybe a half a Caldwell. If you put Caldwell heart attack proof, it'd come up. He's all over YouTube. His wife and daughter do a cooking show that's pretty hilarious. They're very funny. Has anybody seen them? No. Anne and Jane Esselstyn. They have a book. They're very big in the whole plant-based arena. Okay, we're going to go with some salt. And I'm going to go with like about a teaspoon. Isn't that beautiful? Mmm. And it's really good. I just had a little tiny taste. I wanted to see if it needed more lime juice. I think that's going to be good. And if it needs more salt, you can all have this out. You can add a little bit more salt if you want. Yes, you could. For sure. And a little cilantro would be really nice in here too. I usually have somebody that really doesn't like cilantro, so I could cut some up and leave it out or put it out if you guys really wanted some. But okay, there is that. All right, we're going to move on to our cauliflower tacos. Let's see. You know what I forgot to put in? I don't think this is, well, this isn't spicy. I'm going to go ahead and put this in. A teaspoon of chili powder. And it's a mild chili powder, so it shouldn't. Because I'm tasting that, those peppers, those red peppers. Not too bad, though.
I have a question about
Yes.
salt.
Yes.
I see it listed here, but do
You don't see it listed there?
yeah, maybe I missed it.
On the Texas Caviar?
It's not listed.
Oh, it's not listed. Yeah, salt to taste.
Curing sea salt, no salt.
I use real salt from Redmond Real Salt. It's a Utah salt. But, you know, any kind of salt. In fact, I've always stayed away from iodized salt, but I've been following Dr. Brooke Goldner. I listed her on there as well. She's one of my new favorites. She's real big on, don't worry about salt. We need to get iodine. It's a good place to get it. But I've been like hardcore no salt, you know, conditioning for the last 20 years. So I'm having a hard time moving over to, I think the real salt, the Himalayan salt, all those salts are good, fine salts. They're fine salts. So, okay. Let's see, I have another. Actually, I think we'll just chop that by hand. You guys have seen that in action. Okay, we're going to start off our cauliflower tacos with an onion. Now those I talked about the anti-cancer compounds in here. Those are called organosulfur compounds, and they aren't activated until you chop the onion. We've all experienced them when we chop an onion and our eyes start to water. Those are sulfur compounds. And they are what affects the effects have on your, you know, on stopping cancer growth and reducing your risk. I need to move that garbage out. Okay, we're going to turn on our burner. And I like to saute it fairly high. Let's see. Get our pan hot. And I usually use, if I'm chopping a lot of things like I have tonight, I'll use the chopper. But usually if I just have one onion to chop, I won't get it dirty. So we'll just, and then we're just going to put that in our pan. I think that's our cobbler done. Sweet. What's that? Yeah, sure, that'd be great. Great.
Looks like it's done.
Yeah,
Are you
it does
done
look
with
like
the
it's done.
chocolate?
I
You're gonna
am.
use it.
Nope, I am done with it. Oh. I'll just grab that wood spoon. Okay, again, I don't use any oil ever. And I've got a pretty good pan here, so that does help with not using oil, but you really don't need it. I got used to using it after we took the oil out. There was a little bit of a learning curve because I was used to using olive oil and, you know, your heart healthy oils, but it's not hard to not use it. I just do a dry saute. By the way, they found that oil slows down blood flow. Slows down your blood flow 40% within 4 hours of consumption. We don't want to slow our blood flow.
So you're not burning that pan?
No.
Got some water in
Is the camera on it?
Yes, and there's not.
Yep, I don't have any water in it. It will start to brown a little bit as it goes. And I usually saute that until about that time.
That's just a steel pan?
Yes, stainless steel. And then we're going to do some garlic. I've got 2 cloves of garlic here. You know, it's funny how we're kind of so conditioned just by how we were raised. You know, we see our parents cooking and they dump on the oil, and you just don't think that you can cook without it. That's kind of how I was. I just always, you know, you got to have something to saute your food in, and you really don't. And if you do need something, you know, if you're cooking something that's a little bit more dry, you can just add a little bit of water or broth, or if you're, you know, tamari, if you're doing an Asian dish, you can use tamari. I've used balsamic vinegar or vinegars before, or even vinegar water. If you want to have a little bit of a vinegar flavor, you could, you know, put some vinegar in some water and use that as a broth. And you can see it does start to brown up a little bit. And then we just add a little bit of water. And when you add that water, it breaks up that browning from the bottom of your pan. And that browning is the caramelizing of the sugars in the onion. And it just kind of brings that flavor into your dish. And I've got that right about medium high. So, all right, then we'll go ahead and add our garlic. Something else that we want to add to our diet on a regular basis is mushrooms, and we're going to go ahead and add some mushrooms. And this is just white button mushrooms, and it's 1 cup that's been chopped, or it's a cup chopped. There's a difference. But you can use however many you want. It's recommended to get at least 1 button mushroom a day. There were some studies done in China with women and breast cancer, and those who were eating 1 button mushroom a day had 64% less breast cancer. And when that was combined with green tea, which they drink a lot of in China, that bumped it up to 89%. And Dr. Joel Fuhrman, who I first heard report on that, said that you would get that benefit with green vegetables as well, especially your cruciferous vegetables. So mushrooms contain an estrogen blocker that keeps estrogen levels low. Breast cancer is spurred by estrogen. So we want to keep our estrogen levels low. Mushrooms will help you do that. Angiogenesis inhibitors keeps tumors from growing and spreading to other parts of the body. Stimulates and regulates immune function. If you want to regulate your immune system, mushrooms are good for that, although green vegetables are really good. Leafy green vegetables are really good for regulating your immune system, boosting it as well as just yes? Pardon me? The tops of the mushrooms? I included the stem as well. I cut off when you buy them in the store, I cut off a little bit just because they get a little bit brown. All right, then we're going to go ahead and add our cauliflower. I was going to chop a little bit more, but you've seen the chopper, so I'm not going to chop a little bit more. But I'm just using just regular cauliflower, and I've chopped them with the small blade. this blade with my chopper, and that makes cauliflower rice, which is kind of a popular thing nowadays. And cauliflower is a cruciferous vegetable. That's another thing that we want to get into our diet on a daily basis. Women who had a serving of cruciferous vegetables a day cut the risk of breast cancer in half. Men who get 3 servings of cruciferous vegetables a week cut their risk of prostate cancer by 34%. So if they're eating it every day, I'm sure they're going to get that 50% decrease as well. Mushrooms, back to mushrooms, they function as probiotics. If you want to grow your bacteria in your gut, in your microbiome, eat mushrooms. Just some things on cruciferous vegetables. It increases the liver's ability to remove toxins from your body. We collect toxins all the time. We live in a toxic world. Cruciferous vegetables increase your liver's ability to remove those toxins. They inactivate carcinogens before cancer can even develop in your body. And we have cancer cells going through our body all the time. And we just have to have a strong immune system and a healthy body to be able to fight that and to get rid of them. I mean, there's compounds in these foods that will literally attack cancer cells and get rid of them, boost your immune system. Let's see, if I already said that. Okay. And cauliflower, of course, is white, and it's lower in those antioxidants that I like to talk about. Your green leafies are higher, much higher in those nutrients, but cauliflower is a great cruciferous vegetable that we can use. And I have found, you know, I've done smoothie recipes before, not a whole lot because I wasn't doing smoothies for quite a long time, but now I'm back to doing smoothies again. And the big thing with smoothies is to use kale, right? Anybody do smoothies here? Green smoothies. Do you put kale in your green smoothie? Raw spinach. Kale is strong, right? I have a hard time getting very much kale. Cauliflower, amazing. I put 5 ounces of cauliflower in my smoothie, and it's so good. I mean, the cauliflower isn't good, but you just don't taste it. And you're still getting that cruciferous vegetable. It's really great. Purple cabbage as well is a great addition to a green smoothie. I'm going to do my hyper-nourishing green smoothie probably sometime in the future, maybe January. I don't usually do a dessert in January because we're just so over, you know, we got too many desserts over the holidays. So I usually like to do like a healthy smoothie or something, so I'll probably do it then. But if you want to see it, I've got it on my YouTube channel, although I've changed it a little bit since then. I wasn't doing cauliflower at that time. I was doing kale. So, okay, we're just going to saute that until the cauliflower becomes tender. We'll go ahead and add our seasonings, our spices. And we've got, what do we have here? We've got a table, okay, I noticed on your recipes after I printed them out, it seems like I always do this. It says 2 tablespoons of chili powder. It's 1 tablespoon of chili powder. That's a lot of chili powder. And then we've got, oh, yes, 2 teaspoons of cumin, a teaspoon of smoked paprika. And I was out of smoked paprika, so I used paprika and a little bit of chipotle seasoning. That's always really good. And then garlic powder, onion powder. We're just going to go ahead and add that in there. Now, I've already got onion powder in here, but I like to add, I mean, I've already got onion in here, but I like to add onion powder because it just kicks up the flavor more. It's more concentrated. Onion powder is more concentrated and just adds extra flavor. So, and I'm just going to add, it's feeling a little bit dry, so I'm going to add a little bit of water to that. So we're kind of making like a taco meat with our vegetables. Now you can add tomato to this, but we're not going to add tomato tonight. This is just like a, you could even add tomato paste. Add a little bit more water. All right, and then we're going to add some lentils. You guys familiar with lentils? we're doing brown lentils. You can use green lentils. Don't use red lentils. Red lentils are very soft. They're more for like an Indian dal that's very kind of creamy. And I just cook these. You just cook them kind of like you do rice. Bring water to a boil, put them in, and they cook like 20, 25 minutes.
So those are cooked already?
They are cooked. You can find them already in the can. If you want to do canned, you can do it that way. But I can get a 25-pound bag of lentils for pretty cheap. I can't remember how much what they were the last time I bought them, but they're way cheaper than buying them in a can. Same with beans. You can get again, prices have gone up for bulk stuff, but you used to be able to get a 25-pound bag of beans for, I don't know, $30 or something, or even less than that. Seems like at one time, forever ago, like $20 for a 25-pound bag of beans. Super cheap. Okay, let's see how that cauliflower is doing. I don't like, sometimes when you're cooking vegetables, you want to have them be kind of crisp, tender, like in a stir fry. But I want these to be soft. So the chips I've got for you tonight to have with the Texas caviar as well as this. So on your recipe for the tacos, I put on there how to, do using a soft taco to steam it, but I couldn't, that would be hard to do for 16 people or whatever. So I just did these chips in the oven. And so I've got these, and what I've done is just taken a corn tortilla, and I've cut them in half in quarters, put them on a cookie sheet, bake them about 270 for like 20 to 30 minutes. And the reason I bake them at a lower temperature is because I can't tell you how many chips I have gone to make at 350 and have thrown them out because they burn. They burn really fast at that high a temperature. And you could go up probably to 300 and they'd be fine. This way I can just put them in the oven. I do set the timer, but I can kind of forget about them. And if my timer goes off and I'm outside or whatever happens, I don't burn them because they're pretty hard to burn at 270 degrees. They're pretty crunchy, so what you want to do is put the food on them and let them set for a little bit and soften up just a bit. I mean, I like them this way. They're fun to dip in salsa and guacamole or whatever, but they are a little bit harder than your normal chips because there's no oil in them. They're not deep fried. Even the chips that you buy at the store that are baked still have oil in them, so you want to be careful with those. There used to be a brand that you could buy. I think it was Dr. McDougall. He had a line of food, and he had some that were baked and with no oil. But I don't think they have those anymore.
How long did you say it took them?
20 minutes. I think the recipe is on the back of your. Thank you. Let's see, oven baked chips. Yes, 275 for 20 to 25 minutes. I actually had to let them go longer than that when I did these. So. Just a lot better way to do chips than eat the deep fried. And corn chips seem so, compared to a donut that's so high in sugar and just everybody knows that donuts are good for them. But you think corn chips, exactly the same thing. It's a grain and it's deep fried. So there's just no sugar. So, I mean, I love to eat chips. I'd go to a restaurant and eat chips and, you can do that, but it's just not, as long as you're not eating out at restaurants every day. Okay, we're going to go ahead and add our lentils. That's a couple cups of lentils, cooked lentils. Kind of looks like taco meat, right? And then we're going to add a little bit of lime juice. And something that I thought about as I was putting these together and pulling my recipes together, I thought, I've been using a lot more whole grains like rice and quinoa and millet and all those kind of things. And this is a recipe that I came up with long before I was using very much grain. And I've since learned how important grains are. Whole grains are so important for us, high in complex carbohydrates, good for the gut, good for feeding the gut. Grains are great for feeding the gut, especially oats. Oats contain a compound, I can't remember what it's called, but it's really just extra good for building your microbiome. So anyway, I decided I was going to throw in a little bit of rice into this, and this is just a little bit of extra. You can put that on there if you want to add a little bit of rice. This is just some long grain brown rice. And we're going to do some salt. And we'll go with probably about 3/4 of a teaspoon. And we'll add just a little bit more water. And see, that's just what you do. You know, if you need a little bit more moisture, if it starts to stick, you just add a little bit of water. So if you guys want to go ahead and come up and grab you a plate.